New Yorkers are headed to the polls today for those who have not voted early in what is turning out to be a very heated mayoral election. Contessa Brewer joins us now with the latest. Good morning.
Yeah, Joe, with the surprise announcement there, but what a race. We have seen so many twists and turns here, guys. And then President Trump throwing his support to Andrew Cuomo, telling New Yorkers not to vote for the Republican candidate in the mayoral race. The polls tightening just before today, this voting day. Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani now leads independent Andrew Cuomo by less than 5%. We've seen this really tighten up. Support for Republican Curtis Sliwa is at 16%. That's down 8 points from the last poll that we saw. The prediction money on Polymarket coming in on Mamdani with 92% chance of winning, puts Cuomo win at 8%. By the way, that sort of flips if you take Curtis Sliwa out of the polling. The polling shows Andrew Cuomo and Mamdani in a much tighter race. All three candidates now campaigning on affordable housing. Mamdani promising rent freezes for rent-stabilized apartments, free buses, universal child care. Cuomo campaigning on public safety, education, and affordability. And he's pledging to add NYPD officers to invest in schools, to increase affordable housing. And then Curtis Sliwa, of course, has made his entire career on fighting crime, and he's placing crime and safety front and center. He says he has plans to hire 7,000 NYPD officers and says he would restore zoning control decisions to local communities, which then he says would increase affordable housing. Okay, so New Yorkers had 9 days to vote early. You heard Andrew mention that. And boy, did they ever. Early turnout. 750,000 people, and 250,000 people voted in the city election this weekend alone, just in 2 days, according to the city's Board of Elections. 5.3 million people registered to vote in New York City. Independent voters more likely to wait until today to cast their ballots. The projection is 2 million votes cast in this election. And guys, we haven't seen that since the Giuliani-Dinkins mayoral mashups from the late 80s, early 90s. So that's really something. By the way, Andrew Cuomo expected to come to this polling place. We're in Midtown Manhattan. He's expected to come here and cast his ballot today. Curtis Sliwa told us yesterday that he had already early voted. We asked Mamdani, but they didn't get back to us.
So here's the question. Is there any anecdotal evidence about how close this thing really is? We keep saying it's quite close. Polymarket obviously suggesting it isn't, but if you look at some of the polls, it seems like it would be. Of course, it would be even closer if Sliwa was not in the race. And I actually wonder how many of those Sliwa supporters ultimately support Cuomo, and whether you think that's a true possibility.
Again, if you look at the latest polling, okay, so not the prediction markets, which is about where money is coming in and where people are trying to make some money on this, but the public policy polling where you have a margin of error, what you've seen is the race really tighten up, and in part because if Sliwa is now getting 8% fewer voting support, these are likely voters now coming in for Sliwa, then you might imagine they're peeling off for Andrew Cuomo. It's interesting to me that Donald Trump went out on Truth Social and said, I'd rather see a Democrat with a track record of success win than a communist with no track record of success at all, or I think he called him an utter failure. In a city like New York that typically is so overwhelmingly votes Democrat, does a Trump stamp of approval actually help Cuomo or hurt him? I think if it peels off Republican voters again from Sliwa, that maybe that's where you're seeing some of this momentum for Cuomo.
Contessa Brewer, we will see. We talked yesterday about potentially that backlash. It was so interesting to see Cuomo effectively try to suggest yesterday that the president was not actually endorsing him, suggesting he was a, quote, bad Democrat. I don't know if you heard Cuomo actually repeat that line to try to tell his supporters that, not to think that a vote for Cuomo is a vote for Trump. So there's a lot of, mixed messages in all of this situation. Thanks so much.
Politics in bedfellows, yeah.